Okay, penultimate pre-final of 2024 for chrono karting. We go to KZ2 Masters. Here is your starting grid. Glenn Vandenhoek and Wesley de Waal line up on the front row. And what's more, after 12 best scores out of 14, they are level on points. Sven Heijer makes a return to the championship, and he will be on the inside of row number 3. Explained to me this morning that he got stuck for 3 laps in traffic. And when you've got 25 KZ2 Masters, that is never easy. Jeroen Bos and Neki Berheni running out the top 5. Thierry de Jong and William van der Kay ran at the top 7 ahead of Yannick Breinen, Edgar Oosting. Max Tubben rounds out the top 10. Bas Steen, Anders Elkier, Marcel Ernst, Niels Koster, Sebastian Holder, Mike Hendricks, Bas Schulten, Davide Caruso, Benjamin Evert, Mark Verhoeven ran at the top 20. Mick Bertram, Berno Ridder, Gert Vandenbrink, Christian Primke and Martin Versteeg round out the 25-strong grid. Now, we were talking about Glenn and Wesley back at Kerpen. This title fight has, it kind of reminds me, and people don't at me on any social media, it reminds me of when 2021, Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, dead level on points going into the final round. And it's going to be the person that I think, whoever wins this pre-final, and you know this from experience, that whoever's got the psychological advantage going to that last race of the championship season can be that pivotal factor that makes all the difference.
Yeah, sure, especially when it's as close as this. Both drivers going into this pre-final with 616 points.
Yep.
Absolutely no time for margins, and they have to outperform themselves, and yeah, they have to hope everything falls together perfectly, because the smallest mistake can cost a championship like this.
Imagine if we had each of them picking up a win, and one wins the pre-final, one finishes second, and then we get the reverse. If that happens, it goes to countback, which means that Wesley de Waal would become the 2024 champion. However, KZ2, we talked about this in Kerpen. The perfect thing that you've got to do is get this car off the line. It's standing start, folks. You've got to find that clutch biting point. I've spoken with several drivers, including good friend of ours, Enzo Boll. De Lansard, he didn't get off the line at round 6 in the pre-final. Came back and won both races. He just said, yeah, it is such a difficult art to master. Finding that biting point, wait until those lights go on, and then you've got to settle yourself in and zone in and just go, right, I've got to nail this start.
Yeah, exactly. The start is like an entire different discipline from racing and qualifying. It's so difficult to get it right, especially when you're new in this class or a rookie. It's like not only is it difficult to find the biting point and to do everything perfectly, but to master the nerves and to get in your zone when you're standing there at the start with all the revving engines around you. Yeah, I mean, it's quite the scenery, to say.
Yes, indeed, and we'll have 34 KZ2s coming up next after this one. But the field starts lining up on the start-finish straight here at the Home Champions. You can see the people on the grandstand off of the a la carte brasserie waiting with bated breath. We've got our flag marshal at the front. And when the green flag waves at the back, when all 25 drivers, looks to be Benno Ridder that may not make the start. I haven't seen his transponder cross the line. But here we go for 10 minutes, plus 2 laps. Drivers instructed to look at the lights. Red lights are on. And we're underway. Great start from Glenn Vandenhoek. Got the whole shot nailed perfectly. Oh, we've had a moment. One driver off the circuit on the left-hand side of the start-finish straight. And also we've had one go off. I think a tyre went off a kart. We've got another one on turn 2. Make that. There's another kart as well. I did see, oh, don't tell me, Neki Berheni and Sven Heijer might have come together. However, Glenn Vandenhoek nailed that start perfectly. He got the whole shot.
Yeah, now he has quite some advantage over his championship competitor. Wesley de Waal now currently in 4th place. there's quite a gap. So it's going to be difficult to recover this one.
Yeah, well, I think it's Jeroen Bos that is now leading, who got through. So Van den Hoek got the start. De Waal got mugged a little bit by the drivers behind. So Jeroen Bos leads after the opening lap. Then Van den Hoek, Nicky Berhenne, Wesley De Waal, William van der Kai. They ran out the top 5. And yes, Sven Haya unfortunately involved in that incident. So it was not, as I thought it might have been, Nicky Berhenne, who had dramas at Kerpen back earlier on in this season. But quite a few other drivers, Yannick Kuriainen, Benjamin Evert, Gert van den Brink. I think it's the 199 that's ended up having a drama. Well, Gert van den Brink has retired according to the live timing. But again, 6 speeds, you're hitting probably what? Best part of over 140 kilometres an hour. I think going down the start-finish straight slipstream, you're probably touching close to 150. We're talking like 85, 90 miles an hour. How harrowing is that from a driver's perspective when your backside is literally millimetres off the circuit floor?
Well, of course, every driver gets used to the speed at some point. But yeah, just the overall experience of driving KZ is unmatched, and it's really, really crazy. Like, not even the top speed only, but just it keeps on accelerating, keeps on going. It's very nice.
It's like someone's just wound up you know, literally got a coil spring ready, and then you just let it go and it just keeps on going. It's like the Duracell bunny. But at the moment, Jeroen Bos is leading the way. Glenn van den Hoek still holding on to second position. We've got 7.5 minutes to go. Now, Wesley De Waal needs to get his skates on a little bit here. Okay, right, we've got a couple of penalties coming through. 1, 3, 4. Mick Bertram has just had a 3-second time penalty for bad conduct, reference driving standards. And also 155 has got a 3-second penalty. That is Germany's Christian Primke. Second official warning. He got his first one in qualifying. But Glenn van den Hoek looks very, very much ready to pull the trigger here on Jeroen Bos. But we know Jeroen Bos from old. Very, very capable shifter kart driver, and will keep that thing on the racing line as much as he can before Van den Hoek decides when he's going to pull the trigger. But Nicky Berhenne not too far behind. William De Waal, William van der Kai, of course, the surprise winner in the wet at the first trip to Sekkerpark Berghem this year under the floodlights. I remember that one because I still remember that big grin that he has that was from ear to ear. One of the nicest guys in the paddock. But Glenn van den Hoek, I think, is just keeping these Vega tyres in the window of operation. Of course, this is another thing that a lot of people are not aware of. When we talk about Rotax, then we go to KZ2, completely different tyre compound. Of course, there's a lot more torque going through that back axle with this 6-speed gearbox. What's the biggest challenge as a KZ2 driver to try and keep those tyres in the window and try and keep your opponent guessing at the same time?
Well, it's just so different than especially senior Rotax, because senior Rotax has a peak in the tires in around lap 3, and then it slowly degrades. But KZ has a peak way later, as that's why in the qualifying they get 3 minutes longer, and it takes a bit of time before the optimal window of the tire comes up. And especially in a race, it's difficult to maintain that peak and to up your pace until the end of the race, and to not peak too early. And that's as it goes now, Glenn van den Hoek really has found that pace. Jeroen Bos is struggling a bit more, so he's really applying the pressure.
Yeah, so at the moment, okay, Benno Ridder did not start. Gert van den Brink out. Benjamin Evert out. Yannick Kuriainen out. Bas Steen out. Sven Haya, fastest lap of anybody on lap number 4, 53.157. Now we've got a quartet of drivers led by Jeroen Bos, rounded out by Wesley De Waal. As you said, you want to plateau your tyres. You want to get them into that window of operation and sort of coax them along. You don't want to take too much of them out, too much purchase, too much life out of these tyres, because they'll be a bit like a lemming falling off of a cliff. You know, they'll jump literally straight down. If you go sideways, if you end up making a mistake, flat spotting the tyres, which can happen through either over-rotation of the car, accelerating too early, coming out of the apexes. But now we've got a real good battle on our hands And with 4¼ minutes to go, plus those 2 additional laps, this is the cat and mouse game about KZ2. And you know this very, very well, Joop, that you've got to play your cars very close to your chest and keep your opponents guessing.
Yeah, and you do all that while still trying to remain your calm and not overpush, because that's important. You have to keep doing your own thing and don't really overpush. And now, of course, Wesley Laval has Glenn van den Hoek in his visors, and he's going at it like he's running behind the target.
He's got him in the crosshairs, that's for sure, but he's got to get through on Nicky Berhane, who is like the proverbial cork in the bottle. If Wesley Laval gets through, then there's an opportunity. But by being behind Nicky Berhane, that is not giving him the window of opportunity, but a little bit deep there from Berhane at that particular point. Outbraked himself a little bit, and Laval could have gone through, but again, he, just like the 3 in front, is trying to push whilst conserving the true pace of those tyres underneath them.
Yeah, really a small mistake from Glenn van den Hoek there. And that has opened the gap a little bit for Nicky Berhane, who is now right on the bumper.
And hello, Renata. Greatest speaker duo of all time. Thank you very much. Appreciate the compliment there. But yeah, like you say, slight mistakes, you know, these are very physical karts. You know, your shoulders are put through, well, your right shoulder's put through the ringer, because that's where the majority, where the gear shifts are happening. So you've got the pedal, which is normally for the clutch point activation, and you're pushing it forward to go down the gearbox, pulling it towards you. So you're activating your right side, so it's your chest muscle, your back muscle, your shoulder, your triceps, your biceps, your forearm. It's put through the ringer, and especially when you're having to downshift into, let's say, a right-hand corner from 5th to 2nd, you've then got to concentrate on braking whilst also turning the kart in. It's a lot to do.
Yeah.
And that's why KZ2, or shifter kart racing, folks, that's why you see drivers like Max Verstappen, who is a world champion in that discipline back in 2013 at the home of British karting, Paul Fletcher International. And it is just, it's so visceral. The noise is something completely different as well. And I still remember the first time I ever commentated on KZ2 was B&L Karting Series. I think it was when KZ2 came back for a round. And who was one of the drivers on the grid? Senna van Walstein.
Yeah, Senna, of course, also really, really fast. And now in the KZ categories, you have to multitask, but also the G-forces are absolutely insane, especially when you're on a grippy track. Just the speed and the grip of the tires. The Lecons now really, really grippy tire. Just the G-forces are, yeah, you really have to get used to that. It's really different than in road tires.
Well, the thing is, at the moment, the advantage is clearly in the favour of Glenn van den Hoek in 2nd place. Wesley Laval has got to try and do something. It is going to come down to the final race of the season. We head into the final minute, plus 2 additional laps. Another penalty has just come in for the 196. That is Sebastian Horder. 3-second time penalty for ignoring a yellow flag. So the field makes its way through into turns 3, 4 and 5 here on lap number 11. So after this, we'll have another 2 laps to go. But with the lap times that we've been seeing, and about 53.3s from the top 2 drivers on the road, Jeroen Bos from SP Motorsport. Of course, Stan and Jorrit Pex. Stan running SP Motorsport, still run in the KZ classes, both in CIK, FIA, and other competitions thereof. But I think in some respects, we are going to see an elbows-out finale, aren't we, in this class?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. They approach it as all or nothing in these kind of races, especially on Genk and the last race of the season, fighting for the championship. And some drivers really have nothing to lose, and they race like that also. So,
especially when it comes down to this moment in the championship season. We've been competing since February the 25th. So effectively, folks, this has been an 8.5, probably about the best, 8 months and 1 week we've been racing through chrono karting. Of course, having made trips to multiple circuits, of course, heading outside of our national habitat, which is, of course, the Netherlands in Eindhoven, which is about an hour and 15 minutes drive from this circuit. Also here at Genk, 2 visits. Marienborg we visited at round number 3. De Lansard we visited twice. Berchem we visited twice. And, of course, the iconic F-Landring in Kerpen that has seen the careers start for Michael and Ralf Schumacher, and of course 4-time Formula 1 world champion Sebastian Vettel. 2 laps to go. Yeah, I think it's just a case of just keeping it nice and clean at the moment. And then when we go into battle for the final later on today, I definitely know for a fact that De Waal is going to give it everything. Van den Hoek is going to defend as if his life depended on it. And then everything else is just adds to the nice little spice mix.
I think it's going to be a spectacular race, and we're definitely going to enjoy watching the live stream then, I think.
Yeah, so stick with us, folks, because we've got one more race before we go into the final lunch break of the season. A lap and a quarter to go. Jeroen Bos is still leading the way. Glenn van den Hoek did get the whole shot off of the start-finish line when we started the best part of nearly 15 minutes ago. One more lap remains, and Jeroen Bos leads by nearly 6/10 ahead of Glenn van den Hoek. Nicky Burhenne and Wesley de Waal round out the top 4. William van der Kaaij, the gentle giant, as I remember calling him back in his DD2 days. Currently running in P5. Marcel Ernst from Germany in the 113 has done a really good job in this race. Up 7 spots to 6th position. Niels Koster has just lost a position to Jeremy Sebastian Horder. Sven Heij has now moved up into 14th. A real shame after the Higher Card Sport driver had an incident on lap number 1. But the penultimate race of the championship season for KZ Masters in 2024 is going to go the way of SP Motorsports. Jeroen Bos in the 198. Glenn van den Hoek takes the advantage going to the final race of the championship season in 2nd, ahead of Nicky Burhenne and Wesley de Waal rounding out the top 4. William van der Kaaij takes 5th ahead of Marcel Ernst with Edgar Oosting, Thierry de Jong, Anders Elkier and Mike Hendricks round out the top 10. Davide Caruso, Max Tubben, Sven Heij, Bas Schouten, Mark Verhoeven, Sebastian Horder, Niels Koster, Martin Versteeg and Christian Primke round out the 19 finishers. Mick Bertram we lost on lap 7, Bas Steen lap 2, Yannick Quirijnen, Benjamin Evert, Gert van den Brink on the opening lap with Benno Ridder, a non-starter.